Good morning, Cult Nation. How are you guys doing? Waddell here again. Thanks for tuning in. Before we get started, I just wanted to kind of share something with you guys that you guys might already be aware of. Let me present my screen real quick. But we are going to, you might see my spooky friend over here. His name is Colt. Get it? Cult Nation. But I'm going to let you guys know about something fun that's coming up. So next week, not this week, but the week of October 26th, you guys are going to be able to participate in Cult Nation Spirit Week if you want to. There will be a winner for most spirited staff and student each day. Your teachers and staff are going to be participating in this as well. So Monday is going to be Motivational Monday. That's where you wear a shirt. Maybe there's a cause that you are passionate about, or there's a disease that is near and dear to your heart that might have affected a family member. So Motivational Monday, you can wear that t-shirt. On Tuesday is Crazy Hair Day, so we can't wait to see how you guys style your hair, or maybe you just roll out of bed for that crazy head. Wednesday is going to be Superhero Wednesday. You can dress like your favorite superhero. I know the teachers are already talking about what they're going to wear, and I can't wait to see it. Thursday is Olmsted Gear Thursday. So if you have an Olmsted shirt, or maybe you're new to Olmsted, you know, our colors are blue and yellow. So you can deck yourself out in blue, yellow, or any Olmsted gear that you might have. And then Friday is my absolute favorite day. That is going to be Costume Friday, where you're going to wear your best Halloween costume. So make sure that you guys, if on social media, right here, use the hashtag #FindYourTrueNorth, or email a picture to Miss Wynn, WYNN, right here, Miss Wynn. So that'll be sent out to you guys. I know it's been sent to your parents already through School Connects if they're signed up for that. So I look forward to seeing you guys all in your spirit wear each day. So that's not this week. That's going to be next week. I do want to go ahead and get started with our Cult Connections lesson. We are moving on to something new. We're starting a new unit. You guys did an amazing job on our last unit where we were talking about the cycle between our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. You guys did fabulous with that. I actually just got out of a meeting where I was bragging to you guys, to our administration about you guys, and all the good conversations that you guys are having, and just the work that you guys are turning in. So today we're going to start something new. And our first lesson of this unit is what makes a conflict escalate. So in this lesson, we're going to examine some common reasons why social conflicts escalate from something minor to major. Okay. So let's look on. Let's think about this. Look at this picture. Would you go to an adult for help in this situation? Why or why not? So since this is a recorded lesson and I can't get your feedback and hear what you're thinking, I want you to be honest with yourself. If this situation was you were one of the gentlemen in this picture, would you ask for help? Okay, I'm going to assume that most students wouldn't. They don't feel comfortable. And if you do feel comfortable, that's great. Okay, but sometimes we worry about being judged by other people, or we worry that if we tell an adult that itself can make a situation worse. I know that my older daughter, Nala, she's 6, and I know that that's young, and you guys are way older than 6. But that's something that she's already starting to pick up on, like that she doesn't want to tell a teacher that somebody is saying something mean to her or doing something mean to her. So that's a conversation that we're having to work through. But a lot of it comes back to, you don't want to get the other person in trouble. You don't want it to end up worse. Like in your head, you think that it's going to end up worse than what it could. Okay. Let's think about these two different types of conflict. So, sorry, those are already flipped over. So there's a minor conflict and then there's a major conflict. We're going to look at the definitions of both of these so we can see what the difference are. So a minor conflict is something that's generally easier to resolve and they don't cause long-term physical or emotional harm. So a minor conflict, okay? Like maybe an example of a minor conflict would be your friend came over to your house and you want to play video games, but he wants to go outside and play football or skateboard, okay? That's a minor conflict, right? That's not something that's causing you any physical harm or emotional harm. It's just kind of like a disagreement. You guys have two different interests of things you want to do. A major conflict, those are harder to resolve. They have serious consequences and they do cause physical or emotional harm. So I don't want you to think that it's just a physical harm. You can have emotional harm as well. Okay, so a major conflict would be somebody shoves you and like they keep bullying you. That's a major conflict. Somebody steals your cell phone. You guys are arguing in and out with each other. Maybe it turns into a physical fight. That would be a major conflict. Okay, anytime that there's physical harm, that's a major conflict. Emotional harm as well. You can be emotionally harmed by things that have happened to you. So maybe you were up in front of the class and you were doing a presentation and another peer had shouted something out in the middle and it ended up in the whole class laughing. Okay, maybe that would cause emotional harm. Let's keep going. Some common reasons that conflicts escalate. And as I go through each of these, I want you to see if you can relate to these scenarios. I'm going to click on these dots and it's going to reveal some common reasons as to why conflicts in middle school escalate from minor to major. So let's look at this first picture, for example. Making assumptions. So making assumptions automatically, it means that you're automatically thinking someone has negative intentions. So making assumptions is something that can cause something that starts out small. So it was just a minor disagreement, but then we make an assumption about the other person. And then that we automatically think that someone has negative intentions. Maybe they did it on purpose. So you're walking through the hallway, somebody cuts you off, somebody bumps into you, somebody steps on your shoe. And that's something that's minor. But sometimes we can be like, they did that on purpose. And we make that assumption, right? So so then we react to the idea that they did something on purpose. And then it can become a major conflict. Okay, so that's the first one. Let's look at this next one. Not managing your emotions. So you're losing your cool and not being able to calm down. All right, so we just spent 5 weeks talking about how the feelings we have trigger the thoughts that go on in our heads, which trigger the decisions that we make. So when we struggle being able to manage our emotions and really, focus in on that cycle that we talked about, it's easy for small conflicts to become major conflicts. Okay, so it could be something like, it looks like this girl over here wants to sit at this table with them and it looks like there's not room there. And so you can tell that she's mad. She's not able to manage her emotions. Okay. Her friends didn't purposefully leave her out. There just wasn't an extra chair right there. Okay. Let's look at another incident. This is the one that was, this picture was in our last slide. Jumping to conclusions. So another way that small conflicts become major conflicts is when we jump to conclusions. That's not having enough information about a situation, but you're making a decision about it anyways. So jumping to conclusions to me is very similar to making an assumption. Okay, we jump to the conclusion that, oh, this person kicked the back of my desk, he doesn't like me. He's doing it on purpose. We're jumping to conclusions. Or my friend who came over doesn't want to play video games with me. So we jump to the conclusion that we can't be friends. So that's a little dramatic, but I'm just saying that might be, something that you can relate to. This other one, and this one is huge, involving others. When you involve other people, they can sometimes say or do things that make the conflict worse. This one is huge, in my opinion. I think that this one, especially in a school setting, is one of the most important ones, is that sometimes we let other people influence what decisions we make. And here's what I mean by that. You're upset with somebody else and you talk to somebody else about that. And when I say somebody else, I'm talking about like you talk to a friend about that. I'm not talking about you going to an adult, okay? But let's say that you go to a friend and your friend then kind of, instead of like talking you down and being like, hey, dude, like I'm sure he didn't mean it. Instead, this friend is hyping up the situation, telling you that you should fight him, giving you some bad advice. And we listen sometimes to those opinions because we value that friendship, right? And so then we end up being like, you know what, you're right. I should go and handle this myself, in a negative way. Whereas if we would have just kind of gathered to ourselves, looked at the entire situation, really paid attention to the thoughts going on in our heads, the feelings that we're feeling, then we can kind of bring that back down and make a better decision, hopefully. Okay, so those are 4 different ways that we can escalate minor conflicts into major conflicts. So we're about to go over a quick scenario, and I want you guys to spot the escalation. Sorry. Troy and Jenny are experiencing an escalating conflict. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to read you guys the, maybe, there it is. Okay. I'm going to read you guys the different scenarios, and we're going to talk about reasons for escalation. Okay. So in the first scene, Troy and Jenny decide to work together on a science project. They agree on the tasks that they'll each do over the weekend, but on Monday, Troy says he wasn't able to do his task. Jenny is really upset. I bet you just went out and had fun while I just stayed in and worked, she says. Troy gets really angry. She didn't even ask why I couldn't do it, he says to himself. So just looking at that first scene, what would be the reason why there would be escalation? Okay, so look at our options that we discussed. Not managing emotions, jumping to conclusions, making assumptions, involving others. So I'm going to say that it says that Troy gets really angry. It says it right here. He did that after Jenny said, I bet you just went out and had fun while I stayed in and worked, she says. So this person, Jenny, she jumped to conclusions, right? And she made an assumption. She's assuming that Troy didn't do his work because he was out having fun. She jumped to a conclusion. Whereas we don't know. Troy might have a reason as to why he was not able to get the work done. And then Jenny might feel bad, and we'll see in just a minute, about having said that. She might regret that. So let's keep reading and look at the next scenario. The next scene, in fact, Troy feels so mad, he starts yelling at Jenny. Fine, some friend you are. I quit. All right. Jenny yells back, you're just saying that to get back at me for hanging out with Andrea and Charlie the other day, not with you. So to me, I think that they're both struggling managing their emotions. They're not managing their emotions well. They're yelling at each other. They're saying things that are mean, saying that, I quit, saying that, you know, you're not hanging out, like you're jealous. So that could be making an assumption as well. So that's where that conflict is heading. In the next scene, it says that Troy storms off. So now Troy's had it. He storms off. Later, he texts Jenny and accuses her of making him mad on purpose so she can quit being friends with him. Jenny shows the text to a mutual friend. The friend texts Troy and tells him to stop being a jerk. Troy is furious and immediately posts something negative about Jenny on social media. So again, if we're looking at the cause of that, we're definitely not managing our emotions. We are jumping to conclusions. So let's kind of reel it back for a second. We're not managing our emotions because we are storming off. We're sending text messages and accusing, you know, making that assumption that, you know, they're not friends and you only did this so that you don't have to be friends with me anymore. And then we also went on social media and posted something negative. Okay, so those are examples of not managing your emotions. Let's look at this last scene. Scene 4. Pretty soon, the whole friend group is taking sides. They start saying things that aren't true and spreading rumors about each other. One day at lunch, they're arguing and yelling at each other so loudly, the principal is called to intervene. So again, now not only are we not managing our emotions and jumping to conclusions, but now we've involved others. And when you involve other people, that's never going to end in a good way, right? Because then you're bringing in outside personalities who, again, sometimes people don't have the best of intentions and they want to hype you up so that you get in that fight, right? Unfortunately, sometimes there are people that like that and they enjoy that. And they're not going to want to be the ones that get in a fight, but they're going to encourage you to do that. So you kind of need to evaluate on who your friends are, because real friends aren't going to give you that kind of advice, right? So looking back, this ties perfectly into our unit we just finished about our feelings, thoughts, and emotions and the decisions that we make. And so just being able to see how not managing our emotions can have such a negative impact, right? Troy never did get to defend himself, and he never did explain to Jenny why it is that he was not able to work on the group project. He could have had a family member that was in the hospital. He could have had, you know, a parent say, I need you to watch your siblings because I have to go to work. You know, your aunt couldn't come over and watch you, and so you had to watch your siblings and you weren't able to work on it and focus. So there are a lot of reasons as to why he didn't, and by Jenny assuming that he just didn't do it because she was playing or because Troy was playing around wasn't fair. Okay, so this whole scenario could have been avoided if we could have managed our emotions from the start. And that's something that's hard to do. I'm not saying that I myself do that all the time, but it does take practice. And it is something that, you know, once we can kind of get ourselves and, you know, to regulate our emotions and understand how, you know, when we start breathing fast, man, I'm getting kind of worked up. I need to cool down. Maybe I do need to walk away before I respond because I don't want to say something that I regret. Okay, so those are some strategies that you can do. Let's go back to our slides. We're almost finished. To kind of wrap up everything that I'm saying, I want you guys to think about the social conflicts that you've experienced or witnessed yourselves. What's the most common reason that those conflicts escalate? Why do you think that's the case? So I'm going to jump back real quick. I want you guys to think in your heads about a social conflict that you've experienced or you've witnessed. I want us to go back here and I want to remind you guys of some of the reasons why they escalate. Remember, we make assumptions. That's where we automatically think someone has negative intentions. We do not manage our emotions. We're losing our cool and not being able to calm down. We are jumping to conclusions, not having enough information about a situation, but we still make a decision about it anyways. And then the last possibility would be involving others. When you involve other people, they can sometimes say or do things that make the conflict worse. All right, so that concludes our lesson for today. I do want to briefly go over the assignment, just so that you kind of understand what it is that we're being asked to do. So make sure that you are on the Cult Connections assignment that has today's date, October 21st. The very first thing that you are going to do is you're going to define what is a minor conflict, and not an example, but a definition. What would a definition of a minor conflict be? And what would a definition of a major conflict be? So you don't have to write exactly what was on the slides. You can just kind of put it in your own words. Then I want you to give an example. What would be an example of a minor conflict? Something minor. Remember, we said it was minor if it didn't cause physical or emotional harm. Then what would be an example of a major conflict? So a major conflict, remember, was something that did cause physical or emotional harm. Next, I want you guys to fill in the blanks. So we talked about 4 common reasons that conflicts escalate, and I want you to fill in the blanks. So these were on the slide. We went over these several times. If you forgot, you might need to rewind me and listen to me again and pause it. But making blank. So you're automatically thinking someone has negative intentions, not managing your blank. So you're losing your cool and not being able to calm down. Jumping to blank, not having enough information about a situation, but making a decision about it anyways. Involving blank. When you involve other people, they can sometimes say and do things that make the conflict worse. So all you're doing there is just filling in the blanks. The last thing that you're asked to do, the assignment for today is short. You're welcome. But the last thing you're asked to do is to think about the social conflicts that you have experienced or witnessed. What is the most common reason those conflicts escalate, and why do you think that is the case? So you're going to take one of these 4 up here, or you can come up with your own, but I want you to come up with a reason as to why situations can escalate with your friends, and then explain why you think that is the case. Why do you think that reason escalates problems? And then make sure that you turn that into your Cult Connections teacher for credit. So thank you for tuning in and joining me. I look forward to seeing your all's work. And I also look forward to seeing you guys dressed up during Spirit Week next week. So make sure that you get everything ready for that. Have a great day.